Now, joining me now for a reaction to all of this, member of the House Oversight Committee, fearless MAGA warrior, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me today, Kimberly. This is quite a story.
It really is. You can't even make this up. It's like you're watching some bad Netflix special talking about corruption at the highest level of government and involving the White House and the current president. So let's get your reaction first to the letter subpoenaing this FBI document and what it says about the dealings of the Biden family.
Well, it's explosive. And we've said from the beginning, when Republicans took the majority on the Oversight Committee, our investigation was not into Hunter Biden and the laptop. Our investigation was into Joe Biden himself. And I'm very thankful to our chairman, Jamie Comer, who's doing a great job leading our Oversight Committee and the staff that is working overtime to help reveal all of this information. It was shocking to me when we went into the Treasury just a few weeks ago and read the SARS reports on the Biden family. There wasn't just one or two SARS reports, which are bank-produced suspicious activity reports. There were over 200, Kimberly.
Wow.
This is something that doesn't exist on the Trump family, but it is overwhelming on the Biden family. And the evidence that we read there in these reports were alleged crimes like human sex trafficking, money laundering, and all of the bank accounts involved and the people involved. Through our Oversight Committee and thankfully subpoena power, because the American people gave us the majority and that gives us subpoena power, we were able to subpoena bank records associated with all of these bank accounts and wire transfers that we read about in the SARS reports in the Treasury Department. And what we've seen in these bank records are evidence of true crimes, where we are seeing wire transfers from countries like China, Ukraine, former Soviet Union countries, UAE, African countries all over the world, associated with very mysterious accounts, very likely linked with foreign nationals and foreign governments. And this money would be wire transferred into LLCs, which are fake shell companies. And from those shell companies, money would be paid out to individual Biden family members. I mean, seeing the evidence is mind-blowing, and the American people deserve to know the truth. But what we're doing now, the news that came out, is we have subpoenaed FBI Director Christopher Wray in a particular form, FD 1023, that will produce the evidence that this very brave whistleblower has brought forth that links this kind of influence peddling, pay-to-play schemes directly to Joe Biden when he was Vice President of the United States.
It's so shocking, and it must upset you as somebody, a great patriot who loves this country, that this level of corruption has been going on, that this man was elected president of the United States despite the overwhelming evidence. But we've seen one time after the next, the mainstream media covering and complicit with the Biden family, with the liberals and the Democrats to cover these things up. But yet, as you've mentioned, continue to go and go after President Trump and the Trump family, where there is no evidence of any wrongdoing, whatsoever. These Democrats are launching one witch hunt after the next against President Trump. As you have seen, you've been very vocal about what's going on here and how improper it is. But here we have actual evidence, of real crimes. So, what does this say about our two-tiered, system of justice in this country?
I think what it says is that our country is in a terrible state, and it's absolutely terrifying. I introduced articles of impeachment against Joe Biden on January 21st of 2021, just on this issue, especially related to Ukraine and Burisma. So I feel very vindicated that I was right. But what terrifies me even more, Kimberly, is that this isn't information that is new to Washington, D.C. Everyone in the Treasury knew these SARS reports existed. Everyone in the Department of Justice and the FBI knew that there was evidence linking Joe Biden to these pay-to-play schemes, which are true crimes, especially for the Vice President of the United States. And what's appalling to me is, as you know, is we have watched Washington, D.C. and the national news media completely condemn the Trump family. And President Trump has been the most investigated American, I think, in United States history.
I think you're right.
But President Trump and his family, as you know, they actually do have a real business, and it's very successful. And they have the evidence and the proof to show it. There's beautiful Trump buildings all over the world, beautiful clubs and golf courses and properties. And this is a family that has worked very hard and has produced a true American success story. But the Biden family has no proof and has no evidence of any product they've ever sold or any service that they have ever provided. And we all know that Hunter Biden's artwork is no product that anyone really wants to pay money for.
I
But
know.
this is the two-tier justice system today, and it's a failure from Washington D.C., but even more so, it's a slap in the face to every single American that pays their taxes, follows the law, and just wants good things and wants a country and a government to be proud of.
Yeah, that work hard for an honest living and make an honest wage to provide for their families. And you have these lunatics, these criminals, in the White House, in the administration. It's outrageous. Hunter Biden is hiding, literally, trying to avoid service in the White House. You can't even make this up. It's so outrageous. But you mentioned such an important point, which is, thank God the American people gave you, the majority so you can get these things done. Imagine, and this is why elections have such serious consequences. Imagine if you guys didn't have this ability and you didn't have the ability to subpoena and have the majority to be able to go after this and uncover it. I mean, you were very, prescient in January by knowing and saying, hey, look, there's evidence of wrongdoing here. This is serious, business about the president with the impeachment. Do you think that any of these revelations make that impeachment more likely?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, if we're able to continue with the investigation that we're working so hard on and produce the proof in our oversight hearings to the American people, I think it puts the responsibility on every single Republican in Congress to vote for impeachment, and the Judiciary Committee will have to take it up. Kimberly, think about impeachment like this. Right. We had President Bill Clinton, who was impeached for lying to Congress about a sexual favor that he did or had with an intern. We had President Trump impeached in the House of Representatives, led by Nancy Pelosi, for a phone call with who of all people? Perfect. Vladimir, with Zelensky. And then here we had a second impeachment after a 3-hour riot at the Capitol. But yet we have seen charges brought, people prosecuted, and people serving jail and getting out of jail already after that riot on January 6th. But nothing has been done to the Biden family. Not one single charge has been brought. And Hunter Biden himself has a list of charges that the Department of Justice should be prosecuting him for. But the true crimes are linked to Joe Biden himself. And he is the mastermind of the Biden criminal enterprise. This is an international operation that has guided and steered the policy of the United States of America to the point where we should have to ask the real question: are we involved in the Ukraine war because of the dirty secrets that Zelensky and Ukraine holds on Joe Biden and his family? Are we on the brink of a nuclear holocaust because of this corruption and these crimes that Joe Biden has committed against the American people? And I do believe that it's our responsibility and our duty as Republicans in Congress to lead the impeachment and impeach Joe Biden in the House of Representatives.
Yeah, well, listen, you laid it out very, very well there. The concern is about the weaponization of these government institutions that, we want to be proud of our FBI. We want to be proud of our DOJ. We cannot count on them now because they are co-conspirators, essentially, and accessories before and after the fact. And these criminal enterprises and these crimes by covering them up, by refusing to prosecute, investigate, and now we have to probably worry about them complying. Now, you have the subpoenas, right? Do you believe that Ray's FBI is going to comply with the subpoenas, or can we expect some stonewalling or some kind of obstruction?
Well, I think Christopher Wray would reveal his true nature, his character, and his intentions if he does stonewall this. He has sworn an oath to serve this country and the American people. His check that he gets paid is by the American taxpayers, and he better show up to the Oversight Committee. He's been subpoenaed. He needs to produce the evidence because we already know it exists. Thankfully, to this very courageous whistleblower. And I want to add on a little bit more, Kimberly. This whistleblower is in fear for his very own life. He truly believes his life is endangered. And thankfully, Senator Grassley was able to get this whistleblower to come forward to talk to us on the Oversight Committee. So we're very thankful to Senator Grassley, and we're very thankful to this brave whistleblower. But now it's time for Chris Wray to do the right thing.
No, absolutely it is. So we're going to be counting on that, and I know you're going to hold him accountable, which I absolutely love. It shows the difference that one person can make, in the world. What you're doing in Congress is incredible, and you have been persecuted yourself, quite frankly, and it's outrageous. I know you a long time. You're my friend. I admire you. You're a fierce warrior. You're loyal. You're smart. You're tenacious. Unbreakable. That's what we need. Okay, we need people like you in office. And I want to shift gears because I know this is an issue that you also care deeply about, and so do I, and talk about the Biden administration. They're now saying they're going to send 1,500 active duty U.S. troops to the border. But is this all just a little too late? Because, he was polling very poorly on this. So now all of a sudden he's going to pay attention to the porous border.
Yeah, of course. And thank you for pointing that out. I totally agree with you. I think these 1,500 military troops being sent to the border is more about Joe Biden's polls than about border security. Because over the past 2 years, it's Joe Biden's border policies that have led to the invasion of our country with 5.5 million people. And we're on the verge of seeing Title 42 lifted on May 11th. And there is a real crisis brewing at the border because of this great threat to our country when Title 42 is lifted. But it was Joe Biden, when he came into office, that undid and completely wiped out all of President Trump's great border security policies and executive orders. Remain in Mexico was one of the best policies that we had in place, and that is no longer there because of Joe Biden. So Joe Biden can't try to fool the American people that he cares about the border by sending 1,500 of our military troops down there. What he's actually doing, Kimberly, is he's sending our military troops down to assist the Border Patrol agents to be a welcoming committee to the United States of America, to all the migrants that Joe Biden has invited to invade our country. And that is another true reason why, I can't preach impeachment enough on Joe Biden. At any other time, if we were a legitimate country with a legitimate Congress, we would never allow a president of the United States to have policies in place that create a true invasion of our country, not only with people, but with deadly, poisonous fentanyl and other drugs. And
child and sex trafficking, human trafficking. It's outrageous.
Yes, absolutely.
It's unbelievable. It's astonishing to me how much damage this man and his policies and his administration have done in just 2 short years, and we've got 2 more of it left. And he's created one crisis after the next. Very disturbing. So how do all these Biden failures and what he's done here impact the next the debt ceiling fight?
Well, the debt ceiling fight is a very big concern. What we did in Congress, Republicans, is we passed a bill cutting $4.8 trillion in spending in exchange for a debt ceiling raise. But Joe Biden is saying that's not good enough. He is saying that our bill is dead on arrival, and he wants a clean debt ceiling increase, which is absolutely irresponsible, and we will not allow it. We will not tolerate that, nor will we vote for it, because it's Joe Biden over the past 2 years that spent over $7 trillion. That's the most money that's ever been spent in a 2-year history of the United States. And so Joe Biden is the one that has a spending problem. Washington makes plenty of money. They make the American people's hard-earned taxpayer dollars. That's their revenue. In Washington, D.C., we need to get spending under control. And it's up to Joe Biden. It is his responsibility to work with us in Congress and pass the bill that we put across over to the Senate. And Chuck Schumer needs to step up to the plate as well. But both of them are saying that it has to be a clean debt ceiling, which is like giving them a blank check with the American people's tax dollars. It's completely wrong.
It really is. And you have to understand, look at the difference, the juxtaposition. You had someone, Donald Trump, like you mentioned, the successes of hard work and innovation and American entrepreneurism. And that's what you saw with President Trump and the Trump family, and then the juxtaposition with Biden. The man doesn't know the value of a dollar because he's never, worked an honest day in his life. He's been a paycheck collector, sponging off of the American taxpayers, hardworking Americans for this country for 50 years. And the only thing he's been interested in accomplishing is more influence peddling and enrichment for he and his family. And I think very much so complicit that there's strong ties to what's going on in Ukraine right now, and the fact of the matter that the Biden family is beholden to that government. I mean, it's you put the pieces of the puzzle, together. It's very frustrating to me, and I think it's very alarming. He has created also a very dire national security situation with his feckless leadership, with the border and with our position in various geopolitical regions, across the world. And I think it's very alarming, and Americans should be very worried and frightened about it, quite frankly.
I completely agree with you. It is mind-boggling to me. But I'm afraid that in Washington, there is no slowdown on this Ukraine war. And we both know if President Trump was back in the White House, this war would be over with immediately. And that's what we should be doing. We should be pushing both countries to the negotiating table for a peace deal instead of America funding and fighting a proxy war with nuclear armed Russia. It's just absolutely wrong. It's immoral. And I can't comprehend why we're still doing it, except the fact that, just like you said, Kimberly, and you're absolutely right, the Biden family is on the hook with Zelensky and Ukraine, and the American people are going to pay the price for it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They've been 100% compromised. This isn't speculation. There's facts and evidence that support it. So, make no mistake, and I firmly believe if President Trump was in office right now, this whole Ukraine debacle and us being involved in a proxy war would not even be happening at all, and we wouldn't have, Putin and Russia on the march right now, and all of the conflict going on, and devaluing the U.S. currency and trying to change the currency altogether. They are all emboldened by this man who is compromised and who has no clue what he's doing. And that's why this is so, dangerous. You have everybody, ramped up. North Korea, China, Russia, Ukraine acting up, everyone, because of what's going on right now in the world, because there is no leadership coming. I mean, the world is a safer place when we have a strong president in the White House and commander-in-chief of the United States. I want to ask you, too, about, House Republicans, because you guys have been incredibly busy with, oversight committees and the committee on investigating, government weaponization with Jim Jordan. How would you assess the progress so far? Because you always, straight talk it to us, of House Republicans in this Congress. And what are some of the, would you think, in your opinion and evaluation, the biggest accomplishments thus far?
Well, I think our biggest accomplishment has been our investigations on the Oversight Committee. I'm a business person, so I'll be honest and say I wish we were working longer hours and working harder and staying in session and staying in Washington, D.C. because of the critical place that we find our country in. You mentioned something extremely important, and that's the value of our dollar. And because of this Ukraine war, we have pushed Russia into the arms of China. And this is what you're talking about. They've created something called BRICS, the Brazil, Russia, India, China, Saudi Arabia alliance, where they're going to be doing trade deals in their own currency and not the dollar. And this is a threat to everyone's retirement. This is a threat to our economy. It's a threat to our entire existence. And this is outside of politics. The dollar, if it goes down, it affects every single one of us. I would love to see us working very hard in Congress to figure out solutions and get out of this Ukraine war so that we can reduce inflation and so that we can normalize trade relationships again across the world. And that was something that President Trump was so good at. He was so respected around the world, and therefore Americans were expected around the world. But it's not that way anymore, and it's because of Joe Biden. But in Congress, I think that we could be moving at a faster pace. And I think there's more things that we need to do. We need to always remember exactly who the Democrats are. These are the same people when they were in charge last Congress. They would have loved to put every single one of us in jail. They would have loved to put you and your family in jail, President Trump in jail, people in his administration in jail. And they wanted to end everything that we know to exist. They're the people that were fundamentally changing the United States of America. And I think Republicans need to always remember that and never forget it. And we have to understand the enemy that we're dealing with. This isn't the party that we should work with across the aisle, because you can't work with communists, and you can't work with liars, and you can't work with cheaters. We need to treat them exactly how they are. And we need to use the power of the purse, our budget and appropriations, to get to work and end what they have been doing to this country and to the American people.
Amen to that, Congresswoman. Thank you so much. Fantastic. I love this. We got the MTG with the KG. It's like, this is the way to go, right? We'll do it again soon. It's
fantastic.
I know. It makes people's heads explode, right? You remember the time we were singing Don't Stop Believing by Journey, and we got cease and desist because they thought we were going on a concert tour together and we couldn't sing their song with Carrie Lake. I mean, these people
it was
are
great.
nuts. I know, exactly. We'll sing again soon. Karaoke at our place next time.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much. Can't wait to have you on again real soon. Be good.
Let's do it.